Welcome to Why We're Fans. I'm Duran, and as always, I'm joined by my co-host, Gennaro.
In all of our episodes, we cover the past, present, and the future of all your favorite NFL football teams.
We love hearing your stories, talking the NFL draft, and reminiscing about the good old days.
If you like the same, be sure to subscribe to this channel and like this episode. And leave a comment below if you want to answer any of our questions.
Follow us on Twitter to stay up to date on our latest interviews. And like we always say, win or lose, we're all fans. Enjoy this episode.
What's going down? Welcome back to another episode of Why We're Fans. I'm Gennaro. Joining me always is my co-host Duran. Duran, how's it going today?
Good, man. We are one day away from the Super Bowl, which I can't wait for the game. I'm actually going to try to throw some good cash down and hit some bets for the last time of this season. But as we've discussed before, it's the sad part is no football for a few months.
Yeah, I got some prop bets going. I mean, pretty excited about those ones, and then we'll see how it goes. But let's start this off right. I don't know what you're drinking, but I'm drinking some Barrel Brothers out here from Sonoma County, some Naughty Hops.
I got Green New Deal from Steel and Hops, also in Santa Rosa.
Nice.
Blended into my background. It's green.
That's good. Well, all right. Well, our guest has been patiently waiting, and we thank him very much. So let me go ahead and introduce him. He's the producer on Fox Sport 910 Phoenix, and he's the co-host of Locked On Cardinals on the Locked On Podcast Network, Mr. Alex Clancy. How you doing today, buddy?
Doing well. Thanks, guys. Thanks for having me.
Nice.
Alex, you going to be betting on anything for the Super Bowl? No?
I'm just really going to, there's so many good storylines. I want to go pure with this one because you don't know if Tom Brady's ever going to make it again, and you don't know what's going to happen with Mahomes. This is set to be the best Super Bowl of my lifetime. I mean, just matchup wise.
Yeah.
There hasn't been more storylines than this one in the last, I'm 37. Since I started watching Super Bowls in the mid 90s, there hasn't been a better storyline than this.
Yeah.
I don't think.
I'm thinking about placing a prop bet though. So do you got heads or tails?
Tails. But the prop bet, the ones, so Bo and I will do on Fridays, we'll do like a half a betting segment at the last segment of our podcast. And I told everybody today, Gronk, this is where Gronkowski will catch a touchdown pass, or his over-under is only 30 yards. And I'm like, Gronk is good for one monster play every important, like 2 weeks ago, it was the 33-yard tight end screen down the right sideline that pretty much sealed the game. It's like you forget about him, and then you're like, oh, yeah, he's 6'4", 250. He'll run over anybody. So Gronk, first touchdown, 16-1 is the one that I would take as a long shot for sure.
I know there's another one, too, with JPP being like the MVP. Those odds are ridiculous. I think it's like 10,000.
Probably get a Ferrari from that.
Oh, yeah.
Both of the tackles for Kansas City are out, so that's not a bad one.
Yeah, and then they it seems like you said, Gronk is just definitely a beast, and he's coming on super late. You can tell that all those rumors might be true, where he was kind of sending videos of him running in one day, just changing shirts, and then he's like, all right, that's me running, that's me conditioning, while he was slowly getting back into football shape, and it kind of shows because he's still balling, he's kicking ass.
One more, Mecole Hardman over 32 yards. I mean, usually one of his catches is over 32. So if they hit him on a deep one, he can get that. So I might be looking there, but we could start the show. Let's dig into some fandom, some more Cardinals.
Yeah. Let's dig into this. We went ahead and, interviewed your co-host Bo, but he told us to give you a holler, and I'm glad he answered the phone, but are you ready to answer some questions about your fanhood?
Yeah, and I apologize you had to deal an hour with Bo. Jesus. You guys you probably just turned that on when you're about to go to sleep. Perfect.
We loved it talking Arizona Cardinals. So I think I looked up some new stuff, so I got some new questions for you today.
I'm ready. Fire away.
Yep, you got it. So let's start from the very beginning. How did the Arizona Cardinals get into your blood?
I graduated college in 2009. I was working 80 hours a week, didn't know what I wanted to do. Friend of a friend knew Kwame Lasser, who is a beloved Arizona Cardinal who passed away last year, sadly. He had a radio show. It's like, hey, move out to Arizona. I'll introduce you to Kwame. You'll get a chance. And if you suck, you're out. And I ended up being on that show for 4 years without any sort of experience or anything. And been kind of going up the ladder since. Was with NBC Sports Radio and then Fox Sports, and just – it was tough. I've done Locked On Cardinals this will be my 5th season. Bo's been with me for the last 3. 2017 and 2018 were absolutely brutal with Josh Rosen, and then 2017 was terrible. So I talk about when they drafted Kyler Murray, I'm like, it's cool for the fans if Kyler Murray is good, but the media members need it too.
Yeah.
We need something to be positive about instead of just trying to turn a turd into, I don't know, a sugar cookie, whatever, trying to make it positive.
Try to polish a turd.
So yeah, that's probably what I should have said. But now it's moving at least not in the wrong direction.
Yeah.
Which is good. So now they're the underdog. You kind of root for them. So
Definitely.
That's where I'm at now.
Yeah. I feel like a lot of people that get into radio, that's one of the paths they take is they kind of just get a foot in the door, whether it's answering the phones, working at the station, doing one thing or another. Someone will start talking to them a little bit. They find they have a little report with them, and you just slowly start building your career from there. So I definitely know it's a grind.
Yeah, but it's incredible.
Yeah. So back to the Cardinals.
Yeah.
I know you said, the media needed this just as well as everyone else. I know you've noticed in the last, pretty much since Kyler Murray's been there. But I want to say a little bit even before that, the Arizona Cardinals fan base has just been building and building throughout the last few years. Maybe it started with the stadium.
Yeah, the Arizona's turned into like a Vegas where nobody grew up here.
Yeah.
It's a transplant area. It's Chicago West is what they call it. There's spring training in Chicago out here. A lot of people from Chicago, Pittsburgh. So it's tough to build some sort of momentum with the, traditional and organic fan base for the Cardinals. But yeah, over the last couple of years, it's easier to have, fans when they're good. Trading for DeAndre Hopkins was big. Drafting Kyler Murray was big. It's been a slow burn, and it would have been really big for the fan base if they would have made the playoffs this year. And unfortunately,
definitely hard division to sneak into the playoffs.
But they had they lost to 2 backup quarterbacks back to back in week 16 and week 17. They had no business missing the playoffs. But yeah, the fan base has been growing for sure, and there's been a lot more positivity. It's just this is one of the worst franchises in NFL history. I think it's them, Tampa Bay, and the Browns are all towards the bottom. Obviously, Tampa Bay's it's changed a little bit now after this year, but it's they're cellar dwellers for sure.
We just interviewed a Lions fan that might argue with you a little bit about that too.
The Lions, that's brutal also.
Zero Super Bowl appearance over there.
Yeah. So were you a fan of any other teams before you were a Cardinals fan?
Not really. I'm not even like what Bo and I pride ourselves on is we're not traditional fan. Like we happen to cover the team, but we didn't grow up as diehards. And I think it gives a nice, honest approach. To, a market that's flooded with homers. Most markets are flooded with homers. And you have the fans that love it, that want all the positivity. I get a lot of crap on Twitter for just being negative because if I'm not going to sugarcoat things when there's nothing to sugarcoat. And Bo's kind of the same way. He's a little bit more benign than I am, but I don't care. It's difficult. And so answer your question, I grew up in LA, so there was no football team when I was really growing up and starting to like football. I lived in San Diego for 6 years after college, and I adopted the Chargers at that time. So if I had to associate with one, it would be them. But getting into radio, it's difficult to have any sort of real fandom.
Yeah. I feel you. Do you remember your first Cardinals game you went to?
It was so brutal. Oh, so brutal. So I remember it was week 1 of the 2018 season. It was Bo and I were sitting next to each other. It was Sam Bradford's first game. It was Alex Smith's first game with the Washington professional football team. Adrian Peterson's first game after playing with the Cardinals for a few games the year before. The Cardinals were on the field offensively for 5 minutes in the first half.
Oof.
Or 7 minutes in the first half.
Mm-hmm.
It was far, and I look at Bo and I'm like, what the hell are we watching? The defense is playing fine. They were getting blown out, but it's like Sam Bradford was Mike McCoy and Steve Wilkes. Mike McCoy was his guru. I mean, when he had Peyton Manning, and then, he was responsible for Tim Tebow for their playoff win, but it was absolutely brutal. That was my first one sitting in the press box. Luckily, the food was good because it was brutal.
Yeah.
It was brutal. Obviously, first world problems because I get to watch a football game for free. But
yeah, I'm looking at that game right now. It was 21-0 at halftime.
Yeah, what was that?
They ended up losing 24-6.
Oh, it's brutal. And the 6 was a David Johnson touchdown with like 4 minutes left in the game, and they missed a 2-point conversion. I remember that.
Yeah, I see it right here. David Johnson 2-yard touchdown rush and a failed pass for the 2-point conversion. The time of possession ended up being 38 minutes to 21, so almost double, that is a huge difference.
Yeah.
And Sam Bradford, 1 interception, no touchdowns. But Alex Smith, he played decent, 2 touchdowns,
Chris Thompson
255 yards. But a guy that I'm looking at right here, Adrian Peterson almost had 100 yards.
Yep.
Chris Thompson, though, he had 75 yards rushing, 63 receiving, and a touchdown. So he was that was prime Chris Thompson times.
Murdered, because Alex Smith, that was his first game away from Kansas City, and he had Kareem Hunt. That's all he used to do is throw the ball short to Kareem Hunt in space, and he would ball out. Yeah, Chris, that was bad.
2018, I'm pretty sure I had Thompson in my flex, so I'm pretty sure I was happy that game.
Yeah, that was definitely peak Chris Thompson fantasy time too, for sure.
Yeah.
And just as a former fat kid, what were you eating that was so good?
So what that day, well, first of all I remember, I'm gonna be honest, they do hot dogs at halftime.
There you go.
And I'm a hot dog guy. Like big time, I love hot dogs. Like if it's in Arizona, there's not much. I grew up in LA. There's this place called Carney's that is the greatest hot dog in America, in my opinion. It's this big train. If you see any sort of skyline of the Sunset Strip, it's always there. It's a huge train car. But yeah, the hot dogs at State Farm Stadium were excellent. So luckily,
awesome.
the game was crap, but the hot dogs were good.
That's sorry, man. Part of the Red Sea, and you're like, man, the best highlight of that day was just the hot dogs. That's saying a lot. Their team wasn't as good. You got Sam Bradford at the helm there. You can't really say much. That guy, you thought he was going to be something great coming out of Oklahoma, and then he just kind of shits the bed everywhere he went. Just can't stay healthy. That poor guy.
Made a lot of money.
Yeah, made a lot of money.
He got $20 million from the Cardinals, 15 guaranteed, and he only played 1 year.
Yeah, it was before all that, the rookie cap and stuff. It was like guys were negotiating their contract. He was one of those dudes that just completely cashed out everywhere he went.
Yep, it was him, Stafford, and Matt Ryan. It was Ryan, Stafford. I think Bradford got 60, I think, before he played.
Oh my God.
I think so.
Yep. Those were the days. I know you said you were watching the game there with Bo. That particular game, is there someone that you usually watch games with? Is it him? Do you like to watch it by yourself?
Yeah.
I
usually watch games by myself.
Yep.
It's because I got to be on Twitter. Like now with the podcast, it's like I got to be, like it's bad. But it's no, it's just I'm more like I watch Super Bowls by myself. People think that's weird. I was going bonkers. The 28-3 game with the Patriots in Atlanta, I was by myself. Drinking beer, chilling. And I'm like, I don't want, if you were around other people, you wouldn't even watch the second half of the game because you think it'd be a blowout. Yep. So the Cardinals, same thing. I want it to be saturated when the game's over. I want to know everything, so it's, I usually watch solo.
Yeah. That's usually the best way to kind of absorb all the information and just think critically, as you're saying, you're tweeting out and stuff like that during real time. Now, are you a mute guy? Do you throw it on mute so that the commentators don't sway you one way or another?
Well, no, I'm not. That's a good question. Yeah. That's a good question, but no.
One thing that I like that Amazon Prime is doing is that you can select which commentator team you want to listen to.
Oh, you can?
Mhm.
Yeah, so I thought that was pretty cool. So I mean, I'm a big fan of DJ and all he does. I mean, Bucky's okay, but like just listening to DJ kind of break everything down.
Yeah.
I know he's a regular on the Chargers network and
Yeah,
whatnot,
he's a
but
beast though.
yeah, it's pretty cool just how he breaks everybody down. Then he'll be like, "Oh yeah, I remember this guy coming out of college. Here's his draft profile." I'm like,
Yeah, he's
whoa,
sneaky
dude.
young too.
Yeah,
He's
Mhm.
sneaky young. But yeah, no, Daniel Jeremiah he's the real deal. For sure.
Yeah.
and I don't think that's weird at all watching it by yourself, because I was just listening to an interview today with Sean McDermott, and he just said that he's like, I like to watch the games by myself, like, and he's a head coach. I mean, it makes sense. He goes, since day one, that's how I've been. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
so I think that's awesome.
Yeah.
So working with the media, you get access to a lot of players. Do you just have one that the fans, I mean, we know Larry Fitzgerald, but do you have like a low-key guy that's kind of like a favorite to interview or talk to, or just a real genuine friendly guy?
Well, first off, Fitz is as advertised.
Yeah.
Like, I'm not pretending like I know the guy. I've interviewed him, 10 times or so over, we went on the show that I used to be on. We would go and do our show from his charity event in August at the steakhouse in Scottsdale.
Mhm.
And look you in the face, say, hi, Alex, nice to see you again. And it's just like, he's incredible. Like, I don't know how he does it.
Yeah.
I have no idea. He's been doing it 17 years. And the interviews, the post game, when it's just him at a podium, answers all the questions, knows all the reporters' names. It's just like, he's very genuine, and it's a trip. We got to interview. This was 2 years ago, Budda Baker. So it was Budda Baker and Chase
Nice.
Edmonds. We got in front of Fitz's charity event,
Mhm.
and it was. I mean, both of them are small. Like,
Mhm.
they're small.
Yeah.
They're about my size. I'm 5'10". Chase
they're
may
right
be
around
young, maybe shorter than me. Buddha's right around. I mean, they're obviously, football players.
Yeah.
But it's crazy to see how big Budda Baker hits
Mhm.
with him being more of a compact guy. He's like a Bob Sanders type.
Yeah.
He's not as stocky, but he's a missile.
Mhm.
I love that comparison.
Yeah, and we asked him, they had just drafted Andy Isabella. And it's funny now because nobody knew that DK Metcalf was going to be incredible, even though everybody should have known. And so the Cardinals passed on him. They told us about Andy Isabella, and nobody knew this. He didn't have a TV in his place. So I think he's a mid to late second round pick.
Mhm.
He got a few $1 million in his contract. I don't know, like 2 year or 3 year, $4 million, something like that. I don't know exactly what it was. No TV, no like kitchen table. He had a flip phone, and he drove his car that he drove his freshman year of college.
Wow.
It was like, and all he would do is read it. Like Andy Isabella led the nation in receiving his last year in college at UMass. And all these little stories about him was hysterical. And they would just make like, they're kids. Like, that's the crazy part about it. So like Budda and Chase, I think Chase is a little older. Budda Baker's probably, I think he's 25.
Mhm.
And they're making millions, and they're just the nicest guys to interview. It's a trip.
Yeah. Budda, the highest paid safety, I believe.
Yeah. We were surprised. I had a couple buddies text me, "Who's Budda Baker?"
Oh.
Like,
man.
Well, at the time, it was like, we're jumping the gun a little bit here, aren't we, Steve Keim? Like, you don't need to do it right now. He had a couple years left on his contract.
Mhm.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, he proved it this year that he deserved it. He already proved it.
Just that story that you told about Andy Isabella, the question that I asked you about who's like a low-key fan favorite. One guy that I realized when he came to Dallas was Alfred Morris from Washington. Everyone absolutely loves him. Same thing, looks at you in the eye, will talk to you. And the funny part is he drives the same car that he drove in college.
I believe it.
Yeah, and
That's crazy.
Just one
He
of
was
those
a fantasy
genuine
darling
guys, man.
too.
Yeah.
Just
He was a
one of those
fantasy
genuine
darling.
guys.
Yeah, I mean, we were big fans of Budda when he was coming out. Like, we studied his tape. I think he was Duran. I don't know if you can pull up the draft that year, but I'm pretty sure we had him at the top. We love that guy for sure.
Yeah, for safety.
And me being a Niners fan, when you guys drafted him, I was just like, shit.
Yeah.
And like seeing how he goes against a guy like George Kittle, like that rivalry, it's such a friendly rivalry. But I love it. Like, after he quote unquote hurt, and all these fans came at him like on Twitter. I was like, dude, like, it's his job. Like, that's what he does. And you're not going to go square up with a guy like George Kittle. You have to go low.
Right.
And, he's such an awesome player to watch. Like, he's definitely one of my favorite players in the league.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, that was one of the only good moves that Steve Keim has made was trade up for him. They traded up a few spots to get to the top of the second round to get Budda Baker that year. So luckily for that, yeah.
Budda Baker was number 3. 2 guys, Jamal Adams I had above him, Malik Hooker, and then Budda Baker. And the big one that a lot of people are hyped on, which I know I wasn't a fan of, was Jabril Peppers.
Yeah.
And I had him after, but I actually had Obi Melifonwu between Budda and Jabril Peppers. But I love Budda. The tape spoke for itself. And another sleeper in that draft was Desmond King.
Yeah,
I had him
definitely
couple spots down there, but
Washington
that was actually a pretty damn good draft for
dude.
Safeties. Eddie Jackson, Xavier Woods, Desmond King, Marcus Williams. So there were some studs in that one for sure.
Mm-hmm.
For sure. All right. Speaking of players, let's move on a little bit to your favorite Arizona Cardinal. We want to take a guess first.
Okay.
G, do you want to give it the first shot?
I mean, he is my favorite player in the league. Like he doesn't put up a whole bunch of stats that'll wow you, even though you'll draft him on, your fantasy team. He didn't really do shit, but it's still my favorite player since he's been drafted is Larry Fitz.
Yeah. I'm going to go. I'll switch it up and go with Patrick Peterson.
So Patrick Peterson was great until he wanted out in 2018 and did the whole dipsy doodle. And then he's like, oh no, I'm your guy. And then DeAndre Hopkins, hands down. And the reason why is I love DeAndre Hopkins when he was in Houston. He was on the Larry Fitzgerald path where it's like people knew of him and they knew he was great, but didn't care enough to put him in the upper echelon with Antonio Brown and then Michael Thomas a little bit later. People that watch football knew because he had the best hands in the game, not named Larry Fitzgerald.
The biggest hands too.
Yeah, he got all the targets. Before Michael Thomas had those couple of years of, just bonkers target share. That was DeAndre Hopkins. They had nobody else.
Yeah.
Andre Johnson kind of went through the same situation in Houston with Matt Schaub, but because of Deshaun Watson, they kind of upped the tier of relevancy a little bit. When they traded for DeAndre Hopkins, I was in my car. I'd seen, so we had just finished the show that it came out that David Johnson was going to Houston and that they were going to take on his entire contract. That's all we knew from Schefter at that point. Like, okay, so I'm assuming that they're going to have to give up a draft pick just to get, so they trade David Johnson and a second to get a fourth back just so they would take the draft pick. And we saw that. And then I screamed, mother effer, really loud in my car.
Just go and say it, man. Just go and say it.
I'm not going to say it. But so it was, oh my God. Like when you're younger and you get really scared and you scream, but nothing comes out.
Yeah.
Like you're like in a dream when you can't talk and you're trying to scream.
Like you got that pause, like, ah.
Yeah. Who is that? Is that Kevin Hart? Who does that? That was a stand-up. It doesn't matter. That was that. And then I just screamed bloody murder when I called Bo. And I was like, is this happening? And the crazy part about it is I called that trade on Twitter an hour before it happened. I said, so would Houston trade David Johnson and a second for DeAndre Hopkins?
Oh shit, you called it that close.
Yeah. And I got obviously laughed off the stage, and then I'm like, suck it. It was it's a trip. But so DeAndre Hopkins being here, I mean, it's a dream. Yeah. It's an absolute dream. And they didn't utilize him at all like they should have, even though we had 1,400 receiving yards, a whole bunch of catches, doesn't matter. He could have had 2,000 receiving yards this year. They didn't use him at all.
Yeah.
Like they should have. So DeAndre Hopkins, hands down, is my favorite player on this team.
Awesome. And like you said, he should have had 2,000 yards. This is his first season. He already has the most catches in a single season for a Cardinal. And that's just impressive with all the guys that have had there in the past. But, it's going to be exciting to see what him and Kyler Murray put together in the future here.
Yeah. I know that guy has crazy hand size. I think they're like 11 inches or something like that. It's the type of thing where you much rather be punched by the guy than slapped by that guy, man.
And Yeah, he catches everything. Like it's a beautiful thing to watch him play football.
Like my favorite memory of that guy is that Hard Knocks thing. You know, he was getting into it with somebody, and he's like, "All right, yeah." And he just routes D'Angelo Hall,
Right.
and he goes, "Hey, man, like I'm not scared of anything." And he's just so everyone's like, "Oh man, he's ghetto, he's a thug." I'm like, "No, he's a real dude. Like, you want to come after him? Like, you know, like Mama didn't raise no fool. Come after me." And
everyone loved that clip. Come on now, you can't hate on that clip.
Everyone hated the clip beforehand where you would just like, or I fear God, bro, or we can box. Everyone's like, oh, well, fucking that's so whack. Like, fuck all you guys, man. Nuke Hopkins all the way.
Yeah.
Like I hate that he's in the NFC West, but man, I just love watching that guy so much.
Yeah, it's a beautiful thing to watch him play for sure.
Oh hell yeah, beautiful. I love how you put that.
I know he's your favorite player right now, and it's funny. I was looking at the top Reddit posts from all time in the past year. And all time already, he has the number 1 and the number 2 top Reddit posts. And number 1 is the Hail Murray.
Yeah.
That's number 1. Number 2 is pretty much, holy shit, we traded for DeAndre Hopkins. Yeah. So you get to see immediately the day of, and of course throughout the season, fans loved it and couldn't believe pretty much, especially the public couldn't believe that Houston got rid of top 3 receiver in the league.
Yeah, it was bonkers.
Number 1.
It was bonkers. And there were a couple plays that he made when he was in Houston. There was one in the end zone. I can't remember. It was on a Sunday night, Monday night game where the ball got thrown to him.
Yeah.
Like he's on the left side of the end zone, 2 or 3 yards in. He tips it with his left hand. The defender goes by and he catches it and double taps right next to the sideline in the end zone. And I'm like, you can't. Like, this is all at full speed. Like, this isn't a video game.
Yeah.
And you watch him do this. And obviously the Monday Night Football one where he was in overtime against, he was playing, he was, I don't know. I don't remember what it was. He was in overtime and he spun. He did 2 big spins. They got him down into field goal range and they won the game. Like, I loved him. And the fact that it was Sammy Watkins, DeAndre Hopkins, and Martavius Bryant all at the same time at Clemson. Just.
Yeah. Yep. Did that start the Clemson boom?
I don't know. I mean, they once.
I'm just saying for receivers, because they have a huge run of receivers after that.
Yeah,
I'm pretty sure they did.
That's right. Because Mike Williams. That's right. He's kind of was
Sammy come out beforehand?
Yeah, before Mike, for sure.
No, I don't know about Nuke. I know Martavius. It was Bing Bang Boom. I think it was
Martavius. Yeah, forgot about that.
Damn, yeah, I don't know when they came out. I feel like Sammy Watkins has been in the league for Sammy Watkins got drafted 3rd overall. So I don't know if he wouldn't come out in the same draft as DeAndre Hopkins, I don't think.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I don't think so.
Yeah, you got it.
So one thing that we always ask is that, say, Nuke is obviously Batman. Would you say that Kyler is his Robin? I mean, he can fit him in the backpack, but
I think it has to be.
I think you still got to say that Kyler's, until proven otherwise, has got to be the Batman of this team. They ain't gonna do it.
Yeah.
I mean, it's oh man, it's just a trip. It's a trip to watch them, and there's so much room to grow. And hopefully Kyler gets better.
Yeah.
It's not. But people think like I've gotten into. Man, people have called me bad names. When I said that I would trade Kyler Murray for Deshaun Watson without even thinking about it. Mm-hmm. And you have the truthers, which to your point early on, Duran, was about the fan base. Mm-hmm. Like they're starting to rally behind Kyler, which is a rare sight that people would rally behind the Cardinals.
Yeah.
But I don't know why people think that Kyler's ceiling is higher than Deshaun Watson's. And what has proven that? He's gotten better, but that doesn't mean that he's going to be great. And the scapegoat now is Cliff Kingsbury.
Mm-hmm.
So now it's Cliff's fault. It's not Kyler's fault. It's Cliff's fault. So I don't know. It's a trip. I hope that he gets better this year, because if he doesn't, there's going to be some unfortunate and uncomfortable conversations to have.
Yeah, that's where your fandom of kind of not being that diehard comes into play. You're critically thinking about 2 players, because I have no horse in the race, and I would take Deshaun over Kyler. And when quarterback comes in and kind of changes the franchise and you put all your hope into one guy, even I get caught up in the hype, and it's hard to root against your team or your quarterback, but that's why you're valuable and you're needed in the media and stuff like that for this critical thinking type of stuff.
Yeah, I think it's definitely hard. I mean, Kyler, we saw this year, I forgot what game it was, but I'm pretty sure it was a Seahawks game where he was warming up his shoulder because his shoulder was so dead. And a lot of people, even including doctors, are just saying like it's his stature, it's his build. You don't really see that with Deshaun Watson. And I have so much love for Deshaun Watson. There's a lot of rumors going around on Twitter. I understand that. And I'm not saying that he's going to come to the Niners because I doubt he will. But if Deshaun Watson would come to the Cardinals, I'd be pissed.
Yeah.
I would throw up if he went to San Francisco.
Yeah.
Francisco. I'd be so fucking pissed if he came to somewhere within the division. Like,
no, he's not going. He's not going to the Cardinals. Like, luckily, you can check the box off for the Rams. I said, and another thing, I said this for a year and a half now. They need to trade Deshaun Watson, and another, like, it's just they could get so much for him that it would. Well, you can't give up. He's a generational talent. 4 first-round picks.
Yeah.
Is 4 chances at a generational talent. And I know that it's not exactly the same because a bird in the hand is worth 4 in the bush if that were the case, but he's not going to win there. You're not going to win with him there with the roster as currently constructed. So you say, sorry, you traded DeAndre Hopkins already. It's already, the cat's out of the bag already.
Yep.
So one thing that we mentioned is that we do have some new questions for you. And one that I've been kind of holding back for is, do you have a player on the team or that was on the team that you absolutely hated?
Oh, come on. That's a tough one. He's
like,
in the media.
Not personally.
No, I don't know anything. I had one on the squad. I did not like Blaine Gabbert. I hate Gabbert. And I hate
Sunshine. It's not hate by any stretch, but Patrick Peterson I'm not a fan of. And the reason why is, listen, he's been a consummate pro up until the beginning of the 2018 season. And he fell victim to, oh no, this team isn't going to win more than 3 games. They did, obviously 3-13. And he said, I want out.
Yeah.
And once you do that, that's like cheating on a significant other. It's like, yeah, sure, you might be able to reconcile, but it's always going to be in the back of your head.
Yep. Yeah.
So they go 3-13, and then on the 16th green at the Waste Management Open, I think, which is going on right now, he's like, I'm here. I love my fans. I love the Cardinals, blah, blah. I'm coming back. So then everybody's like, okay, you cheated, but maybe you didn't cheat, but I saw some texts that were suspect. You didn't actually go through with it, but I saw some texts that were suspect. We'll reconcile and let's just don't do it again. And then he cheats and tests positive for PEDs, and I'm done. I'm done. And it's going to be very interesting to see what happens right now, pretty much, with how much money he's going to think that he deserves, where he's a B- corner right now. Darrelle Revis, Aqib Talib, those guys played early into mid to their 30s, deserve the money that they got. Patrick Peterson ain't that guy. He's just not. He was a lockdown corner for years, perennial Pro Bowler, all pro. I get it. This isn't baseball. Like, it's not pay it backwards. Baseball, you play really well, you get a lot of money. If you suck, it doesn't matter because you were really good here before you made all the money.
Yeah.
They need to give him a 2-year, $30 million deal with $20 million guaranteed and front load it. If he wants $45 million guaranteed, he's like, if Steve Keim gives him the money that he wants, because Steve Keim is a sap and he thinks that Patrick Peterson is still necessary for this team to succeed. If he gives him $40 million, it'll say more about Patrick Peterson than Steve Keim. Patrick Peterson, if he wants to show that he's a team player, wants to retire a Cardinal, he'll take 2-year, $30 million with $20 million guaranteed and be happy with it.
I think that's a good deal for him.
That's a great deal for him.
Yeah, I think he should take that.
Yeah,
definitely.
But he could also, like, say Houston offers him. Houston may be a bad example. Like, I don't know. Say it doesn't matter. Just pick a bad team. Say Detroit offers him
Dallas.
4-year, $50 million, 4-year, $50 million with 40 guaranteed, and he takes that. It just shows a lot about.
Yeah.
And I get it. You want to make you want to make your last big contract,
Mm-hmm.
cool, but don't say that you want to be a Cardinal for life also.
Yeah, I feel you.
So that's why it's just
I know you watch a lot more film, especially at Patrick Peterson, than I do. So, I still thought he could maybe reconcile or come back and show that he's a Pro Bowl guy. But I'm going to take that now with a grain of salt, and I'm going to look a little bit deeper.
I
into
love that,
moving
man. That was a
forward.
great answer. I mean, I'm so glad I asked that question.
Yeah, like, dude, you're gonna get the real answer from me. But like, the thing is though, to his credit, first of all, in the Sunday Night Football game that got flexed, he shut DK Metcalf down. When Tyler Lockett had 12 catches and 200 yards and 100 touchdowns. Like, I don't know if that was Bo and I go back and forth about this. Bo always goes back to that point when we talk about it, and I don't know if it was just Tyler Lockett going nuts. You don't have to look for DK Metcalf. Mm-hmm. Because Tyler Lockett's going nuts, or Patrick Peterson actually doing.
I think Patrick Peterson's built for that type of receiver. You know, what I mean? Yeah, maybe. I think that's the style that he wants to play.
Maybe, but also they didn't have a lot of help from the cornerback position either. So if he's your best corner at 30, that's not a great position to put your aging best corner at when Drake Kirkpatrick is the guy next to him, and then Byron Murphy's been fine as a slot corner. You have your strengths with Budda Baker and Jalen Thompson over the top, but they have a lot of holes, and cornerback is one of them for sure.
Byron Murphy is another guy that I liked on your guys' team. He is definitely a great slot corner in the making. He's not even hit his potential yet. I mean, I know it took a lot of these guys to get where they're at, but I definitely have my eyes on Murphy for sure.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, let's move on to the next section. We want to know if you have a favorite coach in Arizona Cardinals history. Could be a guy that you've talked to and seen. It could be a guy from the way back past, but who do you got?
Oh, it's BA.
Yep.
Oh, yeah.
Bruce Arians.
Yeah, of course.
Well, that's a no doubter. The dude he's a walking just quote. He's a walking just whatever he says is awesome.
Yeah. He's got the style. He's got everything. I mean, you see him in the Super Bowl now. I have the number one guy that I have right here. All my notes on was Bruce Arians. So, he has the best winning percentage for you guys. The last, just recent years, not going into the 70s and stuff, 49-30. But he's where he's at tomorrow for a reason. And those offenses that he runs, I mean, you had to be a fan of those offenses where he has the two wide receivers for you guys as Fitzgerald and Anquan Bolden just airing it out and getting yards. The quarterback was Carson Palmer, right? Yeah.
I mean, it was John Brown, Jerron Brown, JJ Nelson, Larry Fitzgerald. Like it's frustrating. It was awesome. And it was frustrating. It was awesome because so many pass interference calls down the sidelines. Mm-hmm. It was insane how many chunk yards they got due to PI. Yeah. And it was also frustrating because on 3rd and 2 on your own 36, he's still the ball 35 yards down.
Yeah, he's still doing it.
So, and they've I think what's smart that Bruce Arians has done is he's definitely handed the reins over in some capacity to Brady. He's like, listen, he's like, I equated it. We were actually talking on the podcast today about it, where it was, remember how, I can't remember what year it was, 2013 went with Peyton and, it was 2015 with Peyton and winning his last Super Bowl. It wasn't him. It was the defense. It was the run game. He had a wet noodle. He wasn't the reason why they won that game.
Oh, yeah.
But he got him there. And that's what Bruce Arians is. Bruce Arians is the wet noodle. Just let Tom Brady, just give him the playbook. Mm-hmm. Let him do his thing. He's done this a lot more than you. And it's not a bad thing. Like, it's not like a slight on BA, but it's like he's just give it to Tommy and let him do his thing. But he got him there. You got to be excited about it. I want to see him with a huge cigar and just drinking just out of the bottle of Crown at the Super Bowl. I would love to see it.
That's why they're perfect for each other. They're making it work this year.
Yeah.
Yeah. One thing that I always hear about from ex-players from BA is that he's definitely a player's coach and he's a shit talker in practice. I mean, I was listening to I forget which interview it was on the Pat McAfee show. He just like, man, I remember one day he dressed up in all black. He goes, oh man, it was a funeral yesterday for the defense because we just roasted your ass. And I was like laughing so hard. I was like, damn, man, for a coach to say that to you, it's like shit.
Oh, BA.
Yeah.
Him and Tom on the same field. Just Tom loves to talk shit too. So
Yep.
getting both of those guys out there, I mean, I could see it. It just takes the team up to another level, and I keep saying it, but they're where they're at tomorrow for a reason.
Yeah.
For sure.
For a
For sure.
reason. Okay, do you have a least favorite coach? I mean, I think.
I mean, it's a tie between Steve Wilkes and Mike McCoy.
Okay.
Mike McCoy was brutal.
Yeah.
Like, it was brutal. And on the Cardinals podcast, I was hyping it up like this is a good hire. It'll help. Steve Wilkes has never been a coach. Mike McCoy's been around. He's been a head coach. He was coach for the Chargers, etc. Oh boy, Alberto is terrible.
Yeah, I mean, to me, I kind of think that Wilkes was a little bit worse. I mean, he was only there 1 year, the 3-13 year, but he was the guy that picked Rosen, right?
No, that was Kime, man. That was
the year before him.
No. He was the head coach there, but Steve Kime needed a quarterback.
Oh, okay.
That he had nothing to do with.
Yeah. Okay. Steve Kime's I think we'll get to Steve Kime in a little bit too. Yeah. Anything else for coaches, G?
No, I'm good off of coaches, man.
You got it. Moving on a little bit more. We want to know your earliest Cardinals memory. I have a couple players that I remember, but do you have anything that stands out to you?
It was the Super Bowl in 2006.
Okay.
Like I didn't grow up a Cardinals fan, so I didn't really have any sort of, I mean, I remember exactly where I was watching that game and just like, what the hell are we watching?
Yeah.
We were watching all the playoffs that year and just, man, Larry Fitzgerald's fun and, the whole thing. And then Santonio Holmes and the big thing that people have just completely forget, like, the Santonio Holmes catch was awesome, but it was the James Harrison pick six at halftime. It's 103 yards. And he's a defensive end, and the dude outruns at 260 everybody. You all run it like Fitz almost got there, but I mean, I don't know how you outrun everybody when you have wide receivers. Like, I don't know, it's hard to take them down, but still, he probably runs a 5 flat 40, and you have guys running 4.3s not being able to tackle him.
He rumbled and stumbled and everything down. It wasn't like a straight.
Right, it looked like he broke his neck at the goal line.
Where he just hit it running. I I mean,
you were wishing you were having DK on your team then.
Yeah, right.
The chase down.
Exactly.
Yeah. I mean, that was a huge play. It was a 14-point swing pretty much because you guys are right there at the goal line. But yeah, that was a very, very big play. We interviewed a Steelers fan, and that was one of his favorite memories of being a Steelers fan.
Oh, I'm sure.
was seeing that play, and of course that Super Bowl. But that's a good one because we did talk about, especially if you didn't grow up being a Cardinals fan or living in the Arizona area. I didn't see many Cardinals games growing up. It's not like they were a nationally televised team every week and things like that. So, I didn't really start seeing them probably into the late 2000s. I do remember a little bit of David Boston, who
Ohio State,
Neil Rackers,
Neil Rackers, no. Don't remember him, but David Boston for sure. He almost had a 1,600-yard season. I think he was like 2 yards away, but Ohio State, he was one. And just me being a Cowboys fan, I mentioned this last time, was Emmitt Smith. That was 2004. I remember him going over there to finish his career out
just
and
break the records,
stack some more yards onto his career. But that was about it.
I'm blanking on this defensive lineman's name. It's not Calais Campbell. He had dreads.
Dansby?
No, he didn't have dreads.
Oh, he didn't.
Dockett.
Oh, yeah.
Darnell Dockett. Okay.
Dockett. I remember that guy.
Yeah.
That guy was just speaking of an asshole, that guy was an asshole because he was always in the backfield. And he was always shit talking. You know what I mean?
Yeah, those I like those guys. Those are the dudes.
It was so weird. Like, you got Calais Campbell coming out of the U, and he was just like the nicest dude. Like, he'll attack you like, "Oh, dude, nice try." Like, dude, get off me, dude. You're a dick.
Yeah, Calais Campbell's another great interview.
Oh, I bet.
The tower. I mean, he's just.
I bet. Yeah.
He's a tower. I think he's 6. He's not 6'8", but he's close.
He's 6'7", I think.
Well, I think his He's listed probably at 6'8". Yeah.
6'8".
But it's funny. It's kind of the opposite. You're standing next to Buda Baker being like, hey, I'm almost his size. And then you see Calais Campbell and you're like, holy fuck, this guy has the guts to go up against this guy every down.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's the way it goes. Moving on a little bit, we want to know your favorite memory. I mean, it could be you might have spilled the beans a little bit and went with the D-Hop trade. I mean, you guys did have Kyler Murray, the number 1 overall pick. Does anything stand out in that category?
What favorite memory just for Cardinals?
Yeah, just for Cardinals.
I think, and this was before I actually did the podcast, I think. It was the catch from Larry Fitzgerald in overtime against Green Bay.
Okay.
Good one.
Yeah.
4th and 22 from the goal line. Aaron Rodgers to Jeff Janis for 40.
Mm-hmm.
And then the Hail Mary to Jeff Janis on Patrick Peterson, by the way. And then Carson Palmer, total broken play, throw across his body to Fitz and just gets down to the 3. Yeah, that was probably it. Because Kyler Murray, it's undefined at this point.
Yeah.
No, it's an incomplete. We have no idea.
Mm-hmm.
Drafting Kyler Murray, Bo and I, so the Locked On Podcast Network, we do a mock draft every year where right before the draft, each podcast will choose who they want. And we took Nick Bosa with the number 1 overall pick. Bo and I did without even thinking about it.
Yeah,
I love that.
Without even thinking about
it.
Guys do. We went between him and Quinnen Williams because Quinnen Williams was a terror.
Mm-hmm.
And like, there's no way they're going to draft Kyler Murray. Like, there's no way. And it's obviously stupid now because we're 2 years removed. But I was like, Nick Bosa, he played 4 games in college, 5 before he tore his pec. Like, I've seen his brother. He's supposed to be better than his brother. Draft him. You put him next to Chandler Jones. They thought, like, you put him next to Chandler Jones, you're good. You are what Von Miller and Bradley Chubb was supposed to be.
Yeah.
You know, but it never really worked out because Chubb got injured. Then Von Miller was obviously out pretty much the entire year this year. Like, having 2 edge rushers like that, it's a wrap.
Yeah.
It's a wrap if you have 2 guys like that.
Thank you for Nick Bosa.
Yeah. Well, but I mean, Kyler, like, Nick Bosa is now officially injury prone. He's had 2 major injuries. Like, that's like Deebo Samuel. I get in arguments with my 49ers fans all the time because I think some of them are the worst fans in America. They're like,
this is his second ACL tear, so I know what you're saying.
Oh, it is? I didn't even know it was his second one.
He tore his ACL in high school.
Oh, damn. Yeah, I didn't. And like Deebo, same thing. Deebo Samuel is now officially injury prone. He had a major injury in college, and he played 14 games his rookie year, right, or something like that. But it's always, is Deebo going to play? Is he out? Is he going to play? Is he out? Like, there are guys just like that in the NFL where you just have to worry. Like, Julio Jones isn't injury prone. Like, he is, but he plays every week, but he doesn't. Like, he's late scratches and stuff like that. Nick Bosa is not like with Kyler. What Kyler has is he's compact, for lack of a better phrase. So the injury proneness just comes with his body type.
Yeah, he doesn't take big hits.
No, and he goes down, like, he took a lot less sacks this year, but the one crunch that he got in his shoulder, it was a crunch. It was him trying to go down and somebody drove into it. And that's bone on bone, whatever in that area. But like I would have said, as I mentioned before, I would have had them take Nick Bosa. No question about it, number 1 overall, without even thinking.
Yeah. I love that project that you guys do, by the way, on the Locked On Network. I mean, when you guys go to every single network and then afterwards you guys have the follow-up from like the Locked On college team. I think that's pretty awesome that you guys do that.
Yeah. It's turning into a nice little platform.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Locked On's got college teams now, huh?
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah.
Yep. That's the newest. I mean, it's been there for a while. Like it's been there for like 2 years now. They started with the big, LSU, Alabama, things like that.
Okay.
I don't think they have college basketball. I think it's college football and then all the 4 professional sports.
Okay.
Each team has a podcast.
I definitely like the Locked On NFL Draft.
Yeah,
I listen to that a lot. And then, of course, Dallas Cowboys is, they find the
Marcus
niche.
Mosier's
I love
good.
it.
Yeah, listen to
good.
The Draft Dudes with Joe and Kyle. Those guys are funny as shit.
Yep, Joe. And then Trevor Sickham is good with the NFL Draft. Kyle Krabs knows what he's talking about. And the Draft Network's insane. DraftNetwork.com is an insane website.
It's a great database.
Yeah.
And Paige DeMacos, their CEO, is a genius.
Yeah, she does the fantasy one too, right?
Yeah,
Yeah,
her and Jake Arians do it.
awesome.
Her and Bruce Arians' son
Yeah.
does a fantasy podcast with another dude who I will never remember his name. I'll never. He's incredible.
Yeah.
My God, it's gonna kill me. I never remember his name, unfortunately. But yeah, they do a really good. They have a really good product over there.
Definitely.
Awesome. So moving on from your favorite memory, do you have a worse memory? I mean, you guys do have the Super Bowl loss. Couple quarterbacks left, Palmer and Warner in their heyday.
This year, Week 16, Week 17, needing a win against two backup quarterbacks, and you couldn't do it.
Yeah.
That's enough.
Yeah,
That's enough.
And those are both big division games.
That's enough.
You know, I mean, Goff isn't there anymore, but is versus the Niners, versus the Rams.
So pissed. Fucking CJ Beathard.
Yeah.
I know that CJ had a lot of motivation that day because, like, even the day before, he was kind of like in tears because it was the anniversary of his brother being stabbed and murdered. But like that was his motivation, and he put that, he relayed that to the team. The team wanted to win for him and his family and whatnot. And pretty sure a couple players donated their game day checks to like some shit. But yeah, it was definitely.
And they were the better team. They were a better team the whole game. It wasn't even a question.
It surprised me. I mean, I was just like, whoa, are we going to win this game? Like, is this going to happen? And
it's so frustrating. Like that's the life of an Arizona Cardinal fan. That's a life of Phoenix sports fans. Like, a microcosm, it's not even one specific game.
Mm-hmm.
Just think about it like this. Okay. So say this is a perfect example. This is a made up example. Say the Suns are down 25 at halftime, and then they come back and they're down 12 at the end of the third quarter. Mm-hmm. They finally tie it up with 8 seconds left, and the other team comes down and hits a 3 at the buzzer.
Yeah.
That's the Phoenix sports landscape.
Yeah.
It's a, you know what? Almost.
Mm-hmm.
You know what? It was a great comeback. Well, you shouldn't have shit the bed for 3.5 quarters.
Yeah.
Yep.
Like that's what the Cardinals, you know what? This year, almost. You know, they've really made some strides. They were 5-2 through 7 weeks. Mm-hmm. Tell me why. And I told Bo, I'm like, they're going to go 8-8. Like it's, and then next year is going to be a rude awakening. Their schedule, the NFC West schedule is brutal next year.
Yeah.
It's brutal. It's AFC South, and say Deshaun Watson stays there. AFC South, NFC North. I mean, it's brutal with the quarterbacks and wide receiver ones that the NFC West is going to have to see this year. Plus, they have to play each other.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, it's going to be 10 wins may win the division next year.
I kind of felt the same way about the Cardinals when they were right there at 5-2 as well, because 2 of those wins, one was the Hail Murray, and then the other one was an overtime win versus Seattle. And I remember thinking, I was like, oof, they're really 2 close games away from being, 3-4. But yeah, I kind of wasn't sold on them early, but like I said, that division, that they're going to have to make some real big strides in that division to win. And like you said, they needed the 2 wins at the very end to make it to the playoffs. They lost to the Niners, of course, with the backup quarterback. And then the next week was the John Wolford LA Rams game. And
don't remember
another backup quarterback. I mean, now we kind of know maybe they were trying to move on from Goff then. But that was a game where I remember being like, really, they're going to lose to Wolford, and the legend of John Wolford continues.
Yeah, I mean, the big storyline with that was Kyler getting hurt in the first quarter and then not coming back until the fourth. It's like, you know what? That's the question. Well, is he too small? Well, does he have the fight? Well, does he? And it's not fair. I mean, it's completely irrational that we're like, you know what? Suck it up, Buttercup. Yeah. Go get hit by another 300-pounder and see how it feels. Like, we have no idea what it feels like to get pile driven by Aaron Donald. It's ridiculous, but it was kind of a suck it up, Buttercup moment. Mm-hmm. Just be on the field. He comes in and start the fourth quarter. They go down 60 yards down the field. Yeah. And then whatever his name is, Mike Nugent misses a field goal, I think. It's like, well, that's a wrap. But I mean, it was tough. It was just like, of course, this is how the Arizona Cardinals lose. It's like betting it over under, and you're crushing the over. Like, say the over is 240 in a game. There's 70 points scored in the first quarter, 60 points scored in the second, and they score 35 in the fourth. And it's like,
yeah,
of course, close but no cigar.
Yep. Just one fun fact. I know Gennaro will know this one. I'm looking at Kyler Murray's Pro Football Reference page, and his cousin is Devin Duvernay.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Yep. Didn't know that. Wide receiver, Ravens.
Yeah.
They mentioned that in the Red River rivalry. And I was like,
that's right. He went to Texas. That's right.
Yeah, he was a Texas.
Duvernay went to Texas.
Wide receiver.
Right.
Yeah. All right, moving on. We're going to look into your future expectation for the Arizona Cardinals coming into actually, let's jump to, we're going to go to guys whose contracts are expiring, might be retiring, stuff like that. You got Patrick Peterson, of course. You got Drake Kirkpatrick and Jonathan Joseph. Those guys are all in the secondary. You got Marcus Golden, Hassan Reddick, who I can't believe Hassan Reddick's contract's already done. That's his rookie one. Yeah. And then Larry Fitzgerald, of course, 37. Kenyon Drake, J.R. Sweezy. Those are guys whose contracts are up. Is there anyone who you kind of want to bring back for next year?
Marcus Golden.
Okay. Anyone on the offensive side?
Nope.
No?
No Drake Kirkpatrick on defense. No Jonathan Joseph on defense. With Fitz, like Bo and I have talked about over the last couple of days.
Yeah.
Again, like Patrick Peterson, we're going to find out what Larry Fitzgerald is made of, what he's about right now. Because he was interviewed outside. He was during the Pro-Am at the Waste Management Open 2 days ago, and they asked him. Cameron Cox is a guy, a media member here in Phoenix, and he asked him, he's like, are you coming back? He said something generic, and he's like, I'm just going to go out and play golf today, and the rest will take care of itself.
Oh, yeah.
And when you hear the rest will take care of itself, that means if they pay me enough money, I'll come back.
Yeah.
Larry Fitzgerald has been known for the 1 year, $11 million deal. That's what he's done over the last 3 years. He's got paid a lot of money to be an Arizona Cardinals. So people that feel bad for him, he's been in Arizona and had people like Max Hall and John Skelton throwing him the football over the last 15, 17 years.
Forgot about that guy.
He got a $100 million contract a while ago. He's making $11 million a year to be to be a below average wide receiver across the landscape. He's a top 10 paid receiver. He's been paid handsomely for his for his legacy and his loyalty.
Yeah.
And we'll find out this year if they offer him, like Steve Keim goes, Larry, I'll give you a 1 year deal, $5.5 million. We got to bring in some other talent if we want to win this year. And he retires. Like, obviously we're not going to know what the contract they offered him was if he retires, because you have to, protect Larry Fitzgerald and his reputation. But if Larry Fitzgerald, just like Patrick Peterson, if they give him $35 million guaranteed, we know about him and we know how dumb Steve Keim is. If they give him 1 year, $11 million, that means Steve Keim buckled. It's like, you know what, Fitz, we still need you for the brand. Yeah. And that would be a huge detriment to the salary cap numbers that the Cardinals need to really maximize this year if they want to make a push. You know, like that's it. That's it. This is a can't miss offseason. The Cardinals have missed in all of the drafts that Steve Keim has been in. All of them. They drafted DJ Humphries 20 plus overall, and then Robert Kimdiche. So how'd that work out?
Not even in the NFL anymore.
Nope. And a couple guys right after him, Chris Jones, interior defensive lineman for Kansas City. He would have been a pretty good guy to draft there instead of Robert Kimdiche. Andy Isabella. It was Terry McLaurin, Deontay Johnson, and DK Metcalf. All those guys are pretty good. Josh Rosen. The guys that were drafted. Hold on.
Yeah. Hassan Reddick.
Oh, well, Hassan Reddick. So Hassan Reddick is like, as of now, the least of all evils because of how he played last year. But I agree with you. Another guy. The reason why they drafted him at 13 was because Bruce Arians used to coach at Temple. I know that. Like and he was Temple. He's undersized, situational pass rusher. So after Josh Rosen, listen to this, because we just did this on the podcast last week. I found this. After the Cardinals traded up to get Josh Rosen in the 2018 draft at 10th overall, these are the next 10 picks.
Oh, yep.
Minka Fitzpatrick, Vita Vea, Deron Payne, Marcus Davenport, Colton Miller, Tremaine Edmonds, Derwin James, Jair Alexander, Leighton Vander Esch.
Yep.
All Pro Bowlers.
Yep.
All of them. Leighton Vander Esch has kind of fallen off a little bit after his first 2 seasons.
Yeah.
But Tremaine Edmonds, perennial. Colton Miller, one of the best tackles in the game.
Yep.
Marcus Davenport, that the Saints traded up to get at 14 when everybody thought they were going to draft Lamar Jackson there. They drafted Marcus Davenport. Jerron Payne, one of the best interior defensive linemen in the game. Vita Vea is playing in the Super Bowl on Sunday.
Yeah. Jair killing it.
And Jair Alexander's he's the new version of the first phase of Jalen Ramsey.
Yep.
Like he's not the guy yet, but he's the guy in waiting. He's the guy that Marshawn Lattimore was supposed to be. Yeah. And that's the guy. He's there. In the Cardinals, so many mock drafts had the Cardinals taking him. I think they had, the 14th pick. I can't remember. 13th, 14th, something like that before they traded up. But Steve Kime, like, you know what? We're going to go get our guy. Yeah. Just happened to be one of the guys left. But that's where we're at with drafts.
Yeah.
So that's why free agency is so important this year.
Yeah, for sure.
Do you predict like a cap casualty that usually happens with every team?
Could be Patrick Peterson, man.
Yeah.
I don't think it will be. Because listen, he's the best corner the Cardinals have. So if you can retain him at the right price, cap casualty is going to be Kenyon Drake. If they want, like, if he's teetering, he doesn't deserve the money. I said that they shouldn't have transition tagged him to begin with. He's never been the guy. Even in Alabama, he wasn't the guy.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it was, I think, with Derrick Henry, I think, was the guy then. Kenyon Drake had the kickoff return for a touchdown in the national championship game. He had the Week 17 insane win in Miami to beat New England that knocked New England out of the 1 seed.
Mm-hmm.
But he wasn't the guy. I would say him. I think they're going to franchise tag Hassan Reddick. They're going to bring back Patrick Peterson. Drake Patrick gone. Jonathan Joseph gone. It's really going to be, we're going to put all of our money into wide receivers and offensive linemen. If they're smart, they'll bring in Joe Thuney from New England, and they'll sign like Marvin Jones. Like, you know, they need, or Corey Davis if you want to go younger. Like, there's so many holes on this roster.
That sounds like a heavy price to pay for Hassan Reddick for me.
Yeah,
listen, but the thing is, he's going to get more on the open market for that 1 year.
Okay.
I feel like you guys can. Go ahead. Sorry.
No.
I feel like you guys can draft a younger edge that can essentially do the same thing. I mean, watching the Senior Bowl, there's tons of guys that are in the draft this year.
Micah Parsons is the guy that you target there at 16, the edge, who's going to drop because of there was a scandal that came out towards the end of 2020. You know, the lewd conduct and everything. We don't have to get into it, but he's going to drop. And if the Cardinals, if he's there at 16, you have to take him. But I think at 16, you need to draft a corner.
Yeah.
Like if Caleb Farley's there, the guy from Vodtech, or Patrick Surtain's going to be gone, even though he could be the next. Who's the dude the Cowboys drafted that fizzled from Alabama?
Oh,
Diggs?
No.
From Alabama? Diggs? Or are you talking about Byron Jones?
Morris Claiborne, LSU?
Yeah, Morris Claiborne. Oh,
LSU.
Morris Claiborne, who they drafted 8th overall, I think.
Yeah.
7th or 8th overall, and he fizzled. Like, Surtain, it's so hard to determine if corners in Alabama are good because everybody's good.
Mm-hmm.
But a corner there, Micah Parsons, but I think Hassan Reddick, to your point, he's proven you got to, I mean, if you can franchise tag somebody, it's going to be 14 mil, 13 mil, but I think it's really, you got to find out because if you let him walk and then he becomes a beast somewhere as a full-on outside linebacker pass rusher instead of an inside linebacker, which is what they tried to make him to be, you'd be doing exactly what Arizona sports teams do, is just give up on young talent and let them go flourish somewhere else.
Yeah. Well, I know Chandler Jones is about to get paid like 16 mil next year, and you're saying that it's going to be between 14 to 15. I don't think Hassan Reddick's, can even touch Chandler Jones as far as that. So, I mean, I'm looking at the Senior Bowl right now. I mean, I'm looking at Jabril Cox. He's a, situational pass rusher for sure, speed rusher. You got Browning. Shaka Tony's a little smaller, but I mean, he's a beast on the edge. He can definitely complement Chandler Jones for sure. So I think that's, a couple of guys that you can look at as far as you can never have too much edge rushers is all I'm saying.
Never.
Right. No, and agreed. And the numbers, you have 12 and a half sacks this year is insane. Like he had 5 sacks in a game against the Giants. Like it's an outlier, but it makes you think.
Yeah.
Like that's all. And what I tell Bo, and we talk about this every day on the podcast, and he is getting aggravated with me that I say it every day, but it's true. The Cardinals don't have a strength at all. one room, like DeAndre Hopkins is a strength. Kyler Murray is probably a strength, but
the core is the
room.
You look at the wide receiver room, they're not a strength. The
Yeah.
linebacking core, not a strength. Interior defensive line, not a strength. The corner's not a strength. The safeties are the closest thing with Jalen Thompson and Budda Baker, both Pacific Northwest dudes. But you need, after this offseason in the draft, to have a strength. You know what? If you're going to go corner, bring in corners, draft corners. If your DBs are going to be your strength, just flip and have one.
Yeah.
Just have one.
Yep.
Because the Cardinals do not have a strength. And if they do what they did this year was, we're going to bring in one receiver and one corner and hope it works, one offensive lineman off the trash heap, and draft guys to fill in, it ain't going to work.
Yep.
Like they're a boat that's sinking.
Yeah.
And they need to find the right what's the guy that has that glue on the infomercial that he turns it into a boat and he goes around New Orleans or Florida?
Oh,
you know what I mean? Like you need to be able to plug the holes in a sinking ship. It's like a float starting to sink.
Yep.
Flex Seal.
Flex Seal. I've heard that.
Yeah.
I've heard that. I've heard that in scouting too. When you're looking at a player, you could always list all the things that they can't do, but show me what they can do. What's their strength? What are we going to use them for? You could say they can't do this. All right, we're not going to use them for that. Not everyone could return. Not everyone could catch. But what are we going to use them for? So I kind of think of that as the same way of don't tell us all the things we can do. What's going to be the one thing we can do over and over again? So,
and if you ask people about that around the Cardinals, if you ask that question, there's not an answer. So that's a really good point. There's not an answer yet. There's not one thing that they do very well.
Yeah, one thing that I always hate too, like when the draft's right around the corner, we all follow it as well, but is when they list a strength for a player, like, oh, he's a jack of all trades. It's like, so he's a master of none. Like, I want somebody who's a master at something.
Master
one talk to Isaiah Simmons about that. And so one thing that I will say about Isaiah Simmons, here's the thing. Like I've got a couple sayings, and it kind of is an insight into people that cover the Arizona Cardinals. And I officially can say that because I've been doing it for 5 years, 6 years now. So like I'm not pretending. Like there are three things that I say. One, and now with the Jared Goff thing, it's interesting because it actually rings true even more. I say that Jared Goff wins because of Sean McVay. Kyler Murray would win in spite of Cliff Kingsbury. And that's where we are right now with that. Okay. Number two. All right. The biggest problem with Andy Isabella is that he's not DK Metcalf. That's the second one.
Size?
Just that he didn't turn out to be DK Metcalf. That DK Metcalf actually worked out.
The pick
Andy Isabella had 3 touchdowns through the first 3 games this year.
Yeah.
And he was actually part of the offense. He was a focal point of the offense.
Yeah.
At least around the red zone. And then number 3, Isaiah Simmons. The biggest problem with Isaiah Simmons is he's not Tristan Wirfs or Jedrick Wills, 2 guys that really stood out as offensive linemen that the Cardinals should have drafted.
Could have used Steve Keim, badly.
Right, but when you look at Isaiah Simmons, you tell me you don't draft him if he's there at 8. You have to draft him.
Yeah.
You have to. You thought you put the Chargers, like, if they, like, we didn't know what was going to happen with Phillip Rivers at that point, really. So they had Tyrod Taylor. So you take Isaiah Simmons and Derwin James and put them on the same field. Are you kidding me? With Joey Bosa and Melvin Ingram? That's the best defense in the NFL. They pass on him. Jacksonville, they take Carolina takes Derek Brown. What are you doing at an Auburn interior defensive lineman? You have a jack of all trades in Isaiah Simmons that's an absolute mauler. And the Cardinals, should have taken Jedrick Wills or Tristan Wirfs, who's going to be all-pro for the next 15 years, and he's in the Super Bowl on Sunday. And you eat your dessert before you eat your vegetables.
Yeah.
And you take Isaiah Simmons.
Yep.
And Isaiah Simmons, arguably, aside from the best defensive play of the year for the Cardinals was Isaiah Simmons' interception of Russell Wilson in overtime. But it's immensely top-heavy. He wasn't on the field half the game.
Uh-huh. Yeah, we heard from somebody we interviewed on the podcast is that he had an elevator interview with Matt Roll, and he didn't do that well, and that's what caused him to kind of slip past the Cardinals. They're like, okay, we're going to look past you. You're not our guy. And, Matt Roll is just, shoot from the pocket. You know what I mean? He knows what he's about. So he didn't want to deal with his bullshit. But, yeah, man.
But listen, the jury's still out. I mean, he could be.
Yeah,
he hits,
of course.
Exactly.
Did you see the hit on him with Cam Newton? Like, he lit Cam, even though, it's the running diagonal, running sideways. I could hit Cam Newton. He would fly a little bit. But he made Cam Newton, and obviously the Cardinals lost the game because of it. It was a helmet to helmet, which wasn't a helmet to helmet, but the dude can absolutely crush people. He's
he can lay the hat.
250. He runs a 4.35. Like, they just need to mold him correctly. And if you had a good head coach, it's not an offensive coordinator, quarterback coach that, glorified it and put it to the head coaching role. He's still a tabula rasa, clean slate. He's just a mold of clay that you have to put together. Because you're right, Duran. Like, he's the jack of all trade, master of none. That's what he is. And hopefully next year, if he can be a terror, Jesus.
Yeah.
Is Vance Joseph on the hot seat?
No.
Okay.
Vance
I was just
best.
curious.
So Vance Joseph, when they hired Vance Joseph, it was like, oh, he's going to be the scapegoat. If it doesn't work out with Cliff, we know that Vance Joseph is going to be the scapegoat because it's not going to be Cliff's fault because Steve Keim hired Cliff to draft Kyler. Like that is the triumvirate that's untouchable. Vance Joseph was incredible last year. Chandler Jones went out. Their blitz packages got better. Like, it's insane what he did on defense. That defense was so good. It was the offense that put the defense in bad situations. The offense
was it as good as Cliff's mansion, though? I mean,
nothing.
I wish I could call it a villa. Like, it's like a villa. No, Cliff's the worst.
I mean, a month and a half at USC, and it's like, oh, guess what? Sorry, Lynn Swan, I'm leaving. I'm going to Arizona Cardinals to be the head coach.
He's the worst. But we got 100%. He didn't even think he was going to get a look from the NFL, so he took a gig because he wanted to take over for Clay Helton, which he probably would have. But it actually could be a blessing in disguise for the Cardinals because Bieniemy didn't get a job. Brian Daboll either chose not to or didn't get the job that he wanted. Cliff's going to get fired next year. He's going to get fired. If they don't...
You heard it here first.
He should get fired no matter what. Like, so, again, my fandom is very slim, very diluted. Marty Schottenheimer went 14-2 with the Chargers and got fired. Next year. Okay? Yeah. Because of Marty ball, when, the small ball, all that crap. If the Cardinals... And Bo and I are on different sides of the spectrum here. Bo sees... We're both smart enough to realize that Cliff doesn't get credit for the 3 to 5. He doesn't get credit for the 3 wins in 2018 to the 8 wins now because it's a completely different team. Like, if Josh Rosen was the quarterback and they went from 3 to 8, you give Cliff Kingsbury the coach of the year. It's a completely different roster. So Cliff doesn't get credit. He gets credit for kind of doing fine with the roster he didn't really know about in 2019. And he should get all the blame for them going 8-8. If they don't make the playoffs next year, even if they do and get ousted in the first round, he should be gone. Like, let's not F around here. You know that he's not the coach of the future. So Brian Daboll, Eric Bieniemy, perfect. Eric Bieniemy's got the same career arc as Bruce Arians did. Bruce Arians was an offensive coordinator. He won Super Bowls. He never got a chance. And then the Chargers were like, come on, baby. Come on, BA. Bring your cigar. Eric Bieniemy's way more of a hard ass. But he's exactly what the Cardinals need to change the culture.
Have you heard Bieniemy's rap sheet?
Dude, listen. I've heard things enough to where it's... First of all, he's a terrible interview, I would assume.
I'm just curious because, like, that rap sheet would get a player kicked out of the league, and he has that. So I was always just curious. I mean, like, I think he's a great dude. I mean, obviously, I've seen what he's done. I mean, I agree with you 100%. But, as somebody who's looking at him, for a head coach, I mean, would you take that on? You know what I mean? Like, knowing that your players know that.
I mean, coaches are a little bit different than players, I think. It's weird because it was a while ago, right, with Bieniemy?
Yeah, it was like 20 years ago.
Yeah, I mean, I'm just curious. I mean, we got a guy on our staff. He's our O-line coach that literally snorted a line of Coke. You know what I mean?
The Dolphins dude.
Yeah, he's our O-line coach. So I'm just curious, man. I mean, I'm not hating on him whatsoever. I'm not, I'm just curious. What do you think?
I don't care.
I mean, if he's going to take you to the Super Bowl, I mean, who cares, right?
Yeah. I think that because it wasn't, there was one thing that's right in 93. Because I'm looking at it right now.
Yeah.
Here's my rule and because it's so arbitrary, anybody can choose their own thing. Sexual misconduct out.
Yeah.
You know, domestic violence out. Okay.
He's got both.
So we had the one, I'm looking at it now. I don't know. I haven't deep dived into this. I saw the thing about grabbing the woman by the neck, the parking attendant. I knew he was there in 2000 because I actually went to Boulder. I started my college career in Colorado. I was there at the time, but I wasn't really privy. Like I saw it, I'm like, oh, hookers.
Yeah.
You know, that was a big thing. And because and then what's his name? Neuheisel got fired. Like I was there for some stuff. Oh no, Gary Neuheisel and then Gary Barnett was there. But listen, it's Tyreek Hill punched his pregnant fiance in the stomach.
Broke his kid's arm.
Well, that's alleged. Like the crazy thing about that story is it could have been her.
Allegedly.
Yeah.
It could have been her. Like all the story, so the damning part about it was the tape that he said, which is like, you never say that to a woman. Why would you ever do that?
Yeah.
It could have been her. There's more like gray area around that story that's come out after, and it's kind of went away, but he punched his pregnant girlfriend in the stomach in college.
Yeah.
That's enough for me. Like, he's a terrible person, but he's playing in the NFL.
Yeah.
So Eric Bieniemy, like, would you rather, like, people don't talk about it because it, was 20 plus years ago. I don't know. That's a tough one.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean,
but for the record, for everybody that's watching this,
yeah,
domestic violence, sexual misconduct, no.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's no joking about that stuff.
Absolutely no. I mean,
of course.
Having somebody super close to me that's been through all that shit.
Yeah. Same.
I'm saying, fuck that. That's out the window as well.
Yeah.
Not all for that. But I mean, it seems like Andy Reid has kind of reputation to, I don't know what the word is.
Incubate?
Reconstructure somebody.
Oh.
You know what I mean? Like he did it with Michael Vick out in,
rehabilitate.
Rehabilitate.
There you go. And, I think he might have done it with Bieniemy. You know what I mean? Like you don't hear anything bad about him besides that he's a terrible interview, like you said. But having him and see what he can do with Kyler Murray kind of scares me. You know what I mean? As an NFC West fan.
Yeah.
I mean, I'd love to see that, as a football fan. Because I'm a huge fan of Kyler Murray. I mean, you don't see it nowadays where someone's a top 10 pick in both the MLB and NFL. How awesome is that? You know what I mean?
Pretty cool.
And, it's having him and Bieniemy, knowing what he can do with Pat, see what he can do with someone who's a little bit faster, who I think is a little bit more athletic than Pat. I'd love to see that.
Yeah. Yeah.
As a fan.
Mean, there's one thing that's for sure is the Cardinals have to go offensive-minded head coach. Like that's because you look at what happened with the shocker of the offseason was Brandon Staley getting the gig for the Chargers over Brian Dable. It's like, look at what he just did with Josh Allen.
Yeah.
Like, what the hell? I mean, Justin Herbert could be an MVP next year.
Mm-hmm.
But with Kyler, he needs somebody that's going to kick him in the ass. It's going to hold him accountable instead of, massaging his shoulders when he makes a mistake. Like Cliff is a great quarterback coach. He's a great quarterback coach if that was his job. But if there's something wrong with the defense, Vance Joseph's out to dry.
Yeah.
Because the head coach, even Bruce Arians, guys that are not defensive-minded at all, are like, you know what? Bruce Arians will go into the defensive locker room and rip people up because it's the head coach. Mm-hmm. Cliff Kingsbury would go eat a slice of pineapple and say, you guys figure it out.
Yeah. Well, man, I think we covered it all in this episode.
Oh, yeah.
Damn,
from coaching prospects to how it all started. What was that?
We went long. This is good.
Yeah.
No, definitely man. Very good.
Anything else, G?
No, nothing else from me. But is there anything else you want us to let us know what you're working on, Alex, before we log off?
I'm working on Tampa Bay winning on Sunday because they're going to.
I agree.
I agree with that as well.
Tampa Bay, money line, and the under.
Yep.
And the under. Okay. I love that. Do you have a prediction for MVP?
Oh, man. Tommy? I mean, the only non-quarterback, unless something crazy happens, like unless Tyrann Mathieu has 2 interceptions and one's a pick six or something like that, or, whatever. We talk like
Ronald Jones.
Maybe like the run game, the running, so Gronk over 30.5 yards, Gronk anytime touchdown, and the over on Ronald Jones and Fournette either carries or yards, it's going to rain. And Tom Brady wants to keep Patrick Mahomes off the field. Like it's going to get weird. It's going to be a weird Brady Super Bowl. And I think they're going to win. I think it's going to be like oh man, Tom Brady's still the man. He's still the guy.
He's definitely still the guy. I mean, you heard it here first, folks, about your prop bets for sure. Alex, if you want to stick with us just for a little bit after, I know it's a little bit late,
no, that's fine.
But on your end. But yeah, stick with us a little bit after the air. But again, you can follow him at Clancy's Corner at Twitter. We'll put all the information below on our description, and you can go ahead and follow this guy because honestly, he's got some takes that are pretty interesting to me, and I love them. But yeah, signing out. Go ahead and follow us. You can see it on Duran's background right now. Subscribe to our channel, share it, follow us on Twitter for sure at Why We're Fans. Alex, thank you so much. I'm gonna go ahead and cheers to you, brother. Thank you.
Cheers.
Till next time. Thanks, guys.
Thanks, guys.